Hello, welcome back to our animation course. So we've already set up the skeleton for our landing pad in order to make it move and have our robotic arms come out and catch our spaceship as it comes in for landing. But like the spaceship, we're going to set up some animation controls for it to make animating it a little bit easier to handle. So we'll go to Create a Locator down here, and you can place the locator anywhere you want. Let's place it over here on the side. And we're going to rename it to Landing Pad Controls. So like we did before, we're going to get rid of all of our typical channel box channels, or our typical channels in here in channel box, and add in our own custom ones. So with our locator selected, we'll go to Window, General Editors, Channel Control. We'll select all of these in the keyable box, click Move, and move them to the middle box, or non-keyable hidden channels, and hit Close. So now those channels are gone. So with our control locator still selected, we'll go to Modify, Add Attribute. So what kind of controls do you think we'll need? We'll obviously need door controls, and then we'll need the arm controls for animating the movement of each arm. So we're going to need a control for each door and one for the arms as well. So we'll go ahead and do the doors first. So we'll call this one Right Door. Let's say we'll make it have a 0 to 10 slider, where 0 is the door closed like it is now and 10 is it open. So we'll say a minimum of 0, a maximum of 10, and the default value will be 0, which will be closed. And hit Add. So now you see over here, Right Door. We'll do the same with a left door, and minimum of 0, maximum of 10, default of 0, and click Add. Middle door, 0, 10, 0, Add. So those are our three door controls. So next we'll do left arm. Well, actually we'll do right arm, since we went right, left, middle for the order, just to keep things a little bit consistent. We'll say right arm. And this time we're going to go for, let's say, a value of 0 is whenever the arm is retracted down inside of the landing pad, and then a value of, say, 10 is when it's fully extended and ready to catch. So actually this arm movement might be a little bit more intricate than our typical wing movement like we had for the spaceship, since we have a couple different pieces. If I go back over here, we have 3 pivots for rotation. So the animating of the arms might need a little bit more control when it comes to where it is in the animation that these things are all rotating. So instead of a maximum value of 10, how about we do 100? So maximum of 100, and click Add. We have left arm. We'll go from 0 to 100 again, with 0 being default, and click Add. And then we have our middle arm, in which, because it's more of a piston when it comes to how it's constructed, we can probably get away with 0 to 10 again. So 0 to 10, default of 10, and hit OK. So now I have right door, left door, middle door, right arm, left arm, and middle arm. So these will be the main controls for the landing pad. So just like with the spaceship, we'll use set driven key to actually control these things. So let's get started with the doors. Let's press 5. This is a shaded view, so I can select the doors a bit easier. And like I did with the spaceship, let's go to Shading X-ray Joints, so we can see the joints even though they're underneath all of our geometry. So I want to select the door geometry, and let's do the left door first, which, the way I'm facing it, actually it should be this way for the left door to actually be on the left side. But either way, the one that's named left door, we'll select it and go to Animate, Set Driven Key, Set. So then left door automatically gets placed within the load driven section of our set driven key window. So now I can select the locator controls and load driver. So because this is the left door, we can choose the left door control over here, and it's going to be the translate channels for the door that we want to control. So it'll be kind of slide over to the left to open. Or if you want to, you can have it slide this way or this way. Either way works. We don't want it to slide to the right because then you're interfering with the other door. So you can choose either way, left, up, or down, that you want this door to open to give access to the arm to come out. But in any case, pick which axis you want to use. I'll choose the Z axis, translate Z. And with landing pad controls, with the left door at 0, which means the door is closed, we can click key, because that's where it is right now. The door is closed in a closed position. So hit key. So now I can choose the landing pad controls and slide my left door up to 10. This is the maximum, and the door is open. Choose the door again. W for move tool. We'll drag it over to the fully open position and click key again. So now when I choose my landing pad controls and control this door, you can see the door open and close like this. Then do the same for our other two doors. We'll select the right door, load driven, and we're going to, in my case, I'll use translate Z again to move it out this way. It's fully up to you which direction you wish the door to slide open. So with the right door channel selected in the driver box and the translate Z channel selected in the driven, and our landing pad controls have the right door value set to 0, we can click key. We'll change our right door value to 10, which is the value for the open position. Select our right door joint, and we can move it to be in the open position and click key. So now we can test our movement by selecting the right door control, middle mouse clicking and dragging, and see the door open and close. And again for our third door, select the third middle door joint, load driven. Select the M door or middle door control, and in this case, let's do translate X, so we can have it slide toward the other end of the landing platform. So translate X in my case, and again, you can go any direction you want, and click key. Change our middle door value to 10. Open the door, and press key. So now we can test our controls by middle mouse clicking with the middle door control selected, and you can see the door open and close. So now our doors are set with controls, and we can, just to make our visual, what we're looking at, seem more consistent, we can have those doors be open while we work on the arms so they're not in our way visually. And when we start animating everything, we'll pull all our arms down into the platform and have our doors closed for the start of the animation once we get that far. So let's leave the rotating arms for last. Let's look at our piston arms. This is a little bit easier. Now remember, I modeled these arms in position to catch the ship, so we don't want to change their position yet. So the position that they're in right now, though, we know will be at the end of their animation. So what I'm going to do, select all three joints. Select the arm 1, middle arm 1, hold shift, select middle arm 2, still holding shift, select middle arm 3. With the W key turned on, I can see my move tool. I'll know that the X axis is the direction that they should move, right? So undo all that. So I'm going to go to load driven. So now you can see I have all three joints down in the driven area of the set driven key window. And landing pad controls are still in the driver's seat. So let's choose the middle arm control as the driver for this animation. And then we can click and hold down shift and click on all three driven arm joints. And we know we want translate X for our driven direction. So with landing pad controls, we can change the middle arm value all the way up to 10. The reason why we start at 10 is because right now at their current position is going to be the 10 valued position when the arm is fully extended. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and change our middle arm position to 10. Make sure middle arm or M arm is selected here. All the M arm 1, 2, and 3 joints with translate X selected here. And click key. You see it turn purple indicating something has happened. So now we go back to our landing pad controls, take our M arm value down to 0, which will be our starting position. And now we can adjust this and press 4 to go into wireframe view so I can look through my landing pad geometry. I'll select my joints again for the arm by holding down Shift key, or W for move tool, and then I'll move them down. Now I want to look at my geometry to make sure I'm not intersecting in a weird place, so I might want to do them separately one at a time. So I'll select the middle joint first, so M arm 2. I'll move it down in the x-axis like this to kind of fully compress it down into here. Middle arm 1, we can kind of leave it where it is. Middle arm 3, we did move it a little bit, but we want to move it so it's kind of resting at a fully contracted position like this. So now we can select all 3. The Translate X channel is still selected here. M arm is selected here. And remember, our M arm is set to the 0 value, and click key. So now when we adjust our M arm value up, let's look at it up here, we should get to our fully extended position from 0 to 10. So then another thing we can do if we want to, we can grab M arm 1 down here, and maybe while the animation is playing it kind of rotates up like this. So at the 0 position, and this is the rotate Z axis that we're looking at, we can select M arm 1 only in the driven area of our set driven key window, select the rotate Z channel, and we're still at the 10 value for middle arm, so we're going to go ahead and key it now at its finished or final position for the animation that we're making, and click key. And now we'll take our middle arm landing control back down to 0 at this beginning position, and then we can kind of rotate it, be kind of like this maybe, but I'm just kind of trying that out, see what it looks like, and click key. So now whenever we move our M arm control, it kind of rotates up into view. It looks like in this case that might be too much. Looks like it's kind of cutting through, or is it? Let's see here. Maybe it's just scraping by. So yeah, the geometry is kind of intersecting through our landing gear. So we don't want to do that. Let's take it back down to 0 then. Let's animate it instead. Maybe it's rotated more this direction. Make sure it's not intersecting through geometry. Looks like it's fine. So at this point, we can click key, and now we can look at our controls. So now instead of just going straight up, it kind of has a little bit of rotation to it. Not a whole lot. It's pretty subtle, but it makes it not quite so abrupt. So it extends out like this, and then kind of lands in place for the catch. So now we can look back at our arms. So again, remember, we are in the final position here where they have already caught the ship. That's what this position is. So when we set our set-driven key controls, we want to have this position at the 100 value for the arms, since we have a 0 to 100 range to work with. So we can select all of our joints that are involved, hold down Shift, and select all 4 joints of the arm. Click Load Driven. So now we have left arm hinge 1, 2, and 3, and the left arm press. And then we want to make sure we have left arm selected here. Let's choose all 3 of our hinge channels first, so we know we're dealing with rotation when it comes to these joints. And we'll select each one in turn and make sure we notice which axis we're using to rotate, which is rotate Z in all 3 cases. So we'll choose rotate Z here, and then left arm. So back to our controls, make sure left arm is all the way up to 100. Even if you type it in here, hit enter. So that's the very finished final position. We want these joints to be rotated into their current placement right now. And so we click key. And then for the press, since it's a movement joint and not a rotation joint, we can select it. Looks like we're looking at our x-axis for translate. So we'll select Translate X, make sure we have left arm selected, and click key. Now that we have our keys set for the landing pad left arm value to be 100, we can change left arm to 0, and then we can make a starting position for our left arm skeleton. So I'm going to press 4 for wireframe and kind of look at some options we have for adjusting the positioning of all this. So I'll rotate this down like this maybe. Again, I'm just kind of playing around to see a good starting position. So move this in so this pivot, this press is pressed down first, like that. Maybe this joint is rotated this way. Kind of starts like this perhaps. I need to make sure that it's not going to clip through the door. So I can go to left door here and take the 0, and you see at a closed position it's fully covered the arm, which is what we want. We didn't want any parts of the arm sticking out through the door. So we can open that back up. So now at this position we can call this our starting point. So I'll select the hinge joints in the driven section of our set driven key window. Make sure rotate Z is selected. Left arm is selected, and left arm should still be at 0, which it is. And hit key. Then I'll select the press, select translate X, left arm selected up here, and hit key. So now if I select my left arm control and middle mouse click and drag, we should get some movement. There we go. So you can see it from a starting point up to a catching point like this. So that's a good starting motion for our left arm. So now we want to do the same for the right arm. And don't forget, the current position is the finished position whenever it catches the spaceship. So we'll select all 4 joints of our right arm and choose load driven. So now we have right arm hinge 1, 2, and 3 and right arm press. Select the right arm value of our landing pad control and make sure that it is set to 100, which will be the end of the animation for the arm. Because again, just to reiterate, this position that it's in right now is the ending position. So we want to make sure that when we set the keyframes for this position, it's at the 100 value for the right arm. I'll select the hinge joints first, rotate Z, right arm up here. So we have rotate Z of the hinge joints and the right arm landing pad control selected, and hit key. Select the arm press, translate X, and hit key. So now I'll take landing pad controls, right arm, down to 0. And we'll, again, just like we did with the left arm, create a starting position for the arm to begin. So making sure the right arm is set to 0, which will be the starting point, we can now manipulate the arm skeleton to get into a starting position. And you can copy the position you had for the left arm if you wish, or you can do something different. I'll just kind of push this down in here. Again, the press arm we can pull in like this with the movement controls. And the main thing we want to make sure of is when the door is closed, it's not clipping through any of the arm geometry. So we can select the landing pad controls, right door, and close it, and we can see that it's not, which is important. Open it back up again is fine. Make sure we have our right arm selected still in the driver section. We can select our 3 hinge joints and choose the rotate Z channel and click key. Select the right arm press joint, translate X channel, and hit key. So now, just like with the left arm, if we choose the right arm value and animate it from 0 to 100, we get the arm coming up out of the little pit and ready to catch the spaceship like so. We can close this. So now we can take our arms down to 0. Middle arm can tend to 0. We can take all of our doors down to 0 So now all the doors are closed. The arms are retracted into their starting positions. And we have all of our controls ready to have them fling open the doors and make ready for the space shuttle. We're not quite done yet, though. I want to add a little bit more to the arm movement, so it's not quite so straightforward, I guess. Make it a little bit more interesting. So we'll be doing that in our next part. Can't wait to see you there. I think it's going to be fun.